Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the second half of this draft edition of Football Fandom presented by the World Elite Podcast. Right here on our YouTube channel, it's Marquise and Dylan, 2/3 of the World Elite Podcast. First up, how you doing? How was your weekend?
Hey man, everything was good. Thanks for having me on. I know this is not our usual show. I'm on your YouTube channel, so thanks for having me on.
Oh, no problem. You're one of other people I know that want to love to talk football, especially when it comes to Saints in the NFL. So we have a second half to cover here. This is going to be a little different. As you saw after the first round of the draft, I did do a whole episode on the first 32 picks with Dylan Bratcher from the Four Families. It was a great episode. It's available now on my YouTube channel. And just quick, we're talking about the second half, which meaning it's rounds 2 through 7. I just need a quick recap of the first round since you were unable to attend. Just a few questions I'll ask, of course. The main question was, I think you were like me, and probably millions of other people who expected Aiden Hutchinson to go number one overall to the Jags, but we got swerved. Nick Khan and company picked Travon Walker as the number one pick of the draft, and you've never seen his his picture or nothing. All they kept showing was Aiden and other guys. So, what was your take on the Jags picking up Travon Walker?
Well, shockingly enough, the talk I think maybe a few days before was that Travon Walker was going number one. So hearing his name wasn't too shocking to me because the word had already come out that he was possibly the one going number one. Uh, over Aiden Hutchinson. So it didn't shock me too much, but I think it was kind of a reach. I think Hutchinson should have went number one, but good for him. He gets to stay in Michigan, going play with the Detroit Lions, so he gets to stay home, much like another first round pick. Not sure if we'll cover that. I know you covered that already Thursday, but yeah, kind of a reach, I think, in my opinion. I don't think that he was one of the best on that list for the draft. I thought Hutchinson was a clear cut number one pick. Kind of shocking that he didn't go, but like I said, the word came out already that it was possibly Travon Walker.
Yeah, that was a big swerve for me because all they've been talking about was Hutchinson. Aiden going to go number one. Where's he going to go? Possibly Jacksonville. But no, he went second overall. But there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of successful players that were drafted second overall, and look at the careers they've had recently.
Mm-hmm.
So, but speaking of a familiar player you mentioned, I guess you could say there were 3 draft picks in the first round where they would stay close to home. Aiden Hutchinson was one. Another was Kenyon Green, who is a offensive guard from Texas A&M. He's staying home with the Houston Texans. And then, of course, the only quarterback to get drafted in the first round, Kenny Pickett. He's technically a New Jersey guy, but Pittsburgh is technically his home. He played 4 years at Pitt. I want to say he grew up a Steelers fan. Maybe he wasn't. He's staying in Pittsburgh. He's just switching locker rooms when he went to the Steelers. So,
yeah,
I know that was kind of well, we got a quarterback off the board, but Kenny Pickett being the only quarterback in the first round, that's crazy. And he was the 20th pick. So what was your take on Kenny Pickett?
Yeah, he was the only quarterback taken within the first 3 rounds before Desmond Ritter was taken by Atlanta. So that goes to show it wasn't a very strong quarterback class. For me, I thought Malik Willis was going to go the first quarterback taken in the first round at least, and he fell all the way to the third to the Titans. Uh, every time I've seen the Titans come up, even the Seahawks come up, I'm like, I said pretty much it's a lock. They're going to take Malik Willis, but they kept passing on. Even Carolina kept trading up pretty much every round, thinking they're going to take him, but they ended up settling on Matt Corral. So with Kenny Pickett being the only quarterback taken within the first 3 rounds, I thought it was wild, but it also made me think also this is not a strong quarterback class. So that just goes to show right there that it was not strong. But Pickett being the first quarterback, it's just for me, I think it's a lot of pressure on him. I think he could possibly start going in week 1. He's going to be competing with Trubisky.
Supposedly, next year's draft class is supposed to have a strong quarterback class. That's what they've been talking about all weekend long. We'll see when that comes. Another thing I want to mention, of all people, I didn't expect him to go this high in the draft, but only one LSU player went in the first round, and it was Derek Stingley Jr., and he goes to the Houston Texans. I said he was going to be between top 5, top 10. I had him going 7th to the Giants. He goes 3rd to the Houston Texans. And I'm like, damn. And then I was really happy for him because he is going to play a little close to home. He's a Baton Rouge boy, so it's not that far of a drive to Houston for his family. And I love-hate relationship with the Houston Texans, but I was like, damn. He was the first defensive back to get drafted was Stingley.
Yeah, none of the mock drafts had Stingley even going that high at number 3. The first corner that I think every mock draft had was Sauce Gardner out of Cincinnati going to be the first corner taken. So Stingley being there with the injury history from last season, sitting out the entire season, I felt like that would kind of hurt his draft stock a little bit, but I guess they're still hoping that he can return to his form from the national championship season. So that's a wait and see. I think Houston got a good one. I think they got the best corner in the draft, even though he sat out all last season. But I mentioned another name also, Sauce Gardner going to the Jets. I think the Jets had a fantastic first round. So so for sure it's going to be interesting.
Oh, yeah. And then to close out about the first round, we got to talk about the Saints. There were skepticals about possibly the Saints were going to trade up, but they were still getting 2 picks. But before the draft even started, they were already guaranteed the 19th pick, and then they were also getting the 16th pick with a trade that's actually started with the Colts to the Eagles, and then the Eagles traded it to the Saints. Well, they ended up moving up, making a trade with Washington, so they ended up getting the 11th pick, and they're both their picks, that's all I've been seeing was, they're going to get Chris Olave and they're going to get Trevor Penning, which I wanted Trevor Penning. We got him. That was their second pick. I kind of wanted to get Jameson Williams at wide receiver. They were drafting a receiver, but we ended up getting none other than Chris Olave from Ohio State, which that was a great pick, but it was like they called it. They all knew they were getting those 2 guys. And of course the Saints' interest and love of drafting Ohio State players, especially more than any other Big Ten player. This is going to make Chris Olave will be the 6th Buckeye for the New Orleans Saints. It would have been 7 if Malcolm Jenkins didn't retire, because you remember Michael Thomas is still went to Ohio State. There's more. I just had a blank on my mind there, but I'm talking about. Marshall Lattimore's a Buckeye.
Exactly.
Marshall Lattimore's also State Buckeye. A couple other players that are like on the bench, but they're still Buckeyes. Just now they're gonna have 3 Buckeyes on the starting lineup for on both sides of the ball. But yeah, give me your take when they drafted Olave and Trevor Penning. I knew you said you wanted Penning to come, but did you really want Olave, or were you looking at guys like Garrett Wilson or even Jameson Williams coming on the team?
When it came to the wide receiving side of the draft, Chris Olave was at the top of my list. And I think it was at the top of pretty much every Saints fan that I follow on Twitter, because I follow a lot of Saints fans on Twitter. And everyone, and this is maybe minus a few others that wanted Jameson Williams, Chris Olave was the guy. And it's the Ohio State connections. He's been working out with Michael Thomas during like the pre-draft and stuff like that. So I think the chemistry between him and Michael Thomas is already there. So I think that this is going to be excellent for the Saints. If Jameis Winston finally has another target to throw to, he's getting a healthy Michael Thomas. He has a new star in Chris Olave. He still has a few younger receivers like Marquez Callaway, Deontay Harris, this young core he's working with. The Saints offense is so underrated, and they're going to prove so many people wrong this year. Trevor Penning also, that's another guy I wanted. So the Saints actually listened to us for this draft. There's so many names that we want, and they fucking pass up on them, and they go with these bums that are not playing up to par. Like last season, they went with, I think it was Peyton Turner. Last season, he was mostly injured. Then they go the year before Cesar Ruiz over Patrick Queen. I mean, that stuff right there really pissed off a lot of Saints fans, including myself. So this year, under a new head coach like Dennis Allen, you still have Mickey Loomis, who's a salary cap genius. I think it's awesome, and they're still said they're going to push for a certain free agent. I'm not sure if you saw the news today, but there's a certain free agent they're pushing for, and it's a little bit of a shock. But I know we'll talk about more about their picks, uh, other than the first round. But yeah, Chris Olave, Trevor Penning. I think it's an excellent first round, probably the best first round that we've drafted, probably since 2017 when we were able to get Lattimore.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But you think after they draft, when you saw they got Chris Olave, you thought, okay, I think we're good on the receiver side, or you were expecting them or wanted them to draft another receiver? Because once I saw Olave, my dad was like, I think they need to draft another receiver. And I'm like, I think they're good on wide receivers. I mean, we got him. Michael Thomas, if he comes back, we still got Traquan Smith. We got Marquez Callaway. The list goes on. I think we're good with freaking receivers.
Oh, for sure, 100%. We are good with receivers, because receiver was, I believe, the top position we needed to target, and that's obviously what the Saints did. Even traded up with Washington to make it known that we were going to get that receiver. Garrett Wilson, the first receiver taken. I should say Drake London was the first receiver taken, and then Garrett Wilson by the Jets, because Drake London was with the
Yeah.
Falcons, and then the Jets, got Garrett Wilson, and then we ultimately ended up with Chris Olave. So the receiver started getting taken. So I think the Saints made a perfect move, jumping ahead and getting Chris Olave. But no, the moment we got him, I said, yeah, we addressed that receiver position. And the next thing we need to address is offensive line. We lost Teron Armstead to the Dolphins. I know he was injury prone a lot since we got him, so losing him sucked. And just having him in the locker room, but just his presence on the field when healthy, just losing him sucked. So Trevor Penning, the guy that we're getting, man, this guy is a massive guy. He's like 6'7", like 300 plus pounds. He is an absolute unit. So if he can get the penalties that I'm hearing about together, you know, just don't let a big play happen and then get called back for holding. We got to avoid those costly penalties that we had last season, because we had that happen a lot. So yeah.
And I think he'll be he'll be the other starting tackle along with Ryan Ramczyk, and he'll be on the line with Andreas Pete, Cesar Ruiz, and Eric McCoy. So that's your offensive line right there.
Two names right there I wish we would have moved on from a long time ago. Andrews Pete, Cesar Ruiz, two first-round picks, former first-round picks that have not lived up to their names. Saints gave Andrews Pete this horrible extension a couple seasons ago, and to this day still has not lived up to it, injury-prone and just a liability on the football field. Cesar Ruiz also not so much injury-prone, but he's also not living up to the expectation that we wanted from him when we drafted him.
This will be kind of a two-parter question on the Saints here, but were you expecting them to draft a quarterback or one of them to? I think we all want Jameis Winston to be the starter, and he's already got enough backups in behind with Andy Dalton and Ian Book. But Taysom Hill, I'd rather him just be the tight end. But it's going to be a toss-up with him and J.P. Holtz to be the tight end. So, were you wanting them to draft a quarterback, or you think we were good on the QB situation?
No, I thought we were good on the quarterback side of things. Jameis Winston, obviously QB1 going into this season with Andy Dalton as the backup, Ian Book at QB3, and then they already announced Taysom's going to be playing a tight end role going into this season. So Dennis Allen obviously changing things up a bit. I'm very looking forward to it. A different quarterback looking in the room that we got. Hopefully Jameis can stay healthy this season, but obviously last year that wasn't his fault. The line let him down, and then Devin White got to him. Just an unfortunate injury. I know Devin White didn't mean it. They were teammates in Tampa, so obviously it wasn't anything intentional with that play that just ended up in him tearing his ACL. But no, there were a few Saints fans on Twitter that did want a quarterback in the first round. I'm not going to say any names, but there's a dude on there who absolutely cannot stand Jameis Winston. He was hoping Kenny Pickett would go to the Saints in the first round, and everyone was just going on this dude. Like, there's no way we need a quarterback in the first round. If we were going to take a quarterback, I think like possibly maybe into not even the second round, because we don't need it. Like, we already got a veteran like Andy Dalton who I could trust as a backup if Jameis ever gets hurt. We got Jameis, who's still a young quarterback, who was having one of the best seasons of his career before his injury with the Saints. And then we got Ian Book, who's still in that learning phase. So there's no way we needed to add another quarterback to that mix. I think drafting someone like Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ritter, Malik Willis, even Matt Corral, I think would have been a bad move, and I think would have caused a little bit of a stir in the Saints quarterback room. So Jameis Winston got that trust from Dennis Allen, that Dennis Allen said he is not going to draft a quarterback or even sign one whenever they were signing undrafted free agents. I mean, because I looked at the undrafted free agents. I mean, there was no quarterbacks. So
Yeah,
so Jameis has that trust.
yeah. You're talking about free agents. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. They're calling these guys like unrestricted free agents, but like, guys like Quan Alexander, maybe Caleb Bennett, James Carpenter, Ken Crawley, Jeff Heath, Jalen Holmes, Little Jordan Humphrey, Jordan Mills, Christian Ringo, and Kenny Stills. You possibly see any of them want to stay, or you see them leaving, go and play for someone else.
The only one I'd like to see come back if he can stay healthy is obviously Quan Alexander. Pairing him with Demario Davis is just a deadly linebacking duo. But there was a linebacker drafted. I think seeing him play, I know there's a lot of positive feedback on that draft for the linebacking side for the Saints. So, I mean, regardless if Quan comes back or not, I think we'll have his replacement not long after because we still have Pete Warner as well, who played very well, also out of Ohio State. So, yeah, I think linebacking will be okay, but the rest of those names you mentioned, I mean, if they come back, they do. If they don't, they don't. I mean, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna do this second round a little different. I'll just run down each pick. Now, if there's one name I mentioned that you loved or want to talk about, just feel free to cut me off. But
Hmm.
going into the second round, Tampa Bay had the 33rd pick after they did a trade with Jacksonville. They picked up Logan Hall, who's a defensive end out of Houston. Packers picked up Christian Watson, a wide receiver out of North Dakota State that was involved with the Vikings trade. I think that's a fucking target for Aaron Rodgers. I think he saved Aaron Rodgers staying with Green Bay, having a target like Christian Watson. What about what you think?
Yeah, yeah. The thing with them is Aaron Rodgers. He signed this extension, and he literally has nobody to throw to. And you think bringing in this guy from North Dakota State's the answer? No, man, because you already lost Devontae Adams, you lost Marquez Valdez Scantling. I believe you still have Alan Lazard there, but that's not a top tier receiver. And right now, does Aaron Rodgers have anything to be excited about right now in Green Bay? Not a damn chance. So bringing in this guy from North Dakota State, I think is a huge slap in the face to Aaron Rodgers because they had a pick in the first round and they decided not to go receiver.
Titans in the 35th pick get Roger McCreary, a defensive back from Auburn. Okay, this next pick, I also forgot to mention this, but I can't remember the last time a running back did not get drafted in the first round until pick number 36. And I knew this guy was going to be the first running back to go, but the Jets pick up Brees Hall from Iowa State. Uh, Big pick for the Jets. By the way, I was going to wait and say this at the end, but you got teams like the Jets, the Lions, the Titans, even the Texans. Out of those four, who you think had a more successful draft, and who would have a higher advantage of having a turnaround season from being like the worst team in the league last few years and could be a potential playoff contender?
I mean, one of those teams you just named in the Jets. I think the Jets had a strong draft. Their first round alone was really good. Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, guys like that. You got them in the first round with another first round pick. Can't remember who they got, but their
Wilson,
first round. Oh no, they got
Jameson
Garrett
Wilson,
Wilson. Okay, well,
Jameson
so
Williams, and James. No, Jameson.
well,
Hang on.
Jameson Williams went to the Lions.
Oh yeah, that's right. No, I'm Garrett
I
Wilson. Yeah,
can't.
Zach Wilson to Garrett Wilson, and then they also had Jermaine Johnson the second, who's a defensive end out of Florida
Yes,
State. That's who the
yes,
other one
him. Yeah,
was.
yes. Oh my, yeah, that's an excellent first round. The first round alone, I think, made them draft winners right there. That was such an excellent first round for the Jets. You're putting together a young secondary, a young wide receiving core, and just the defense alone. I think they're improving it. by a mile. Zach Wilson's an excellent quarterback. I think he had a very shaky rookie season, but I think he can come back very strong, and they could possibly make some noise in the AFC East. I know they have to compete big time with Buffalo and even New England with Mac Jones. Dolphins, I wouldn't say too much. They're not really a scary team in my opinion. So the Jets could possibly be that third place, maybe even running for second place in the AFC East.
Yeah, whenever the season starts, they'll give me time to when we make our early predictions for the end of the season, if the Jets could clinch the AFC East, or will it go back to Buffalo or surprising New England team again when that time comes. So Texans had 37th pick. They get Jalen Petrie, safety out of Baylor. Then the Falcons get Arnold Abetsky, defensive end out of Penn State. Bears get Kyler Gordon, defensive back out of Washington. Seahawks get back-to-back picks for the 40th and 41st. They get Boy Mayfield, linebacker out of Minnesota. Kenneth Walker, running back out of Michigan State, or people say Ken Walker the third. I think they got their running back situation set there. I think they're just waiting to find a quarterback next, which I was shocked the Seahawks didn't even draft a quarterback.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're fucking thinking. I don't know what they're thinking over there. Vikings get Andrew Booth Jr., cornerback from Clemson. The Giants get Wan'Dale Robinson, a wide receiver out of Kentucky. So that was another wide receiver everyone has been talking about is Wan'Dale Robinson from UK. Where is he going to end up? And he goes to play for the Giants.
Yep.
Like, he was on that talk, not as a first rounder. I think some people expected Wan'Dale to go first round, but he ended up going second because, he had his competitions with Garrett and all them.
Yep.
Texans get John Mechie, the third, who's a wide receiver from Alabama. Ravens get David Ojabo, linebacker from Michigan. Lions get Josh Pascal, defensive end from Kentucky. The Commanders get Fedarian Mathis, a defensive tackle out of Alabama, which that was a big pick for Washington for their defense. Bears get Jaquan Brisker, a defensive back from Penn State. And then the Saints are on the clock again, but they stick with their defense. They get Alontae Taylor, who's a defensive back out of Tennessee. And I could see him. I mean, he could be a starter in the backfield, but, you got your other DBs. You got Marshawn Lattimore, you got Marcus May, Jordan Miller, possibly Bryce Thompson and PJ Williams in the backfield, unless they do shake up the backfield a little bit.
Yeah.
So
kind of felt like a reach.
Taylor.
Kind of felt like a reach, in my opinion, going with him because they announced him as a safety, but I heard Dennis Allen mentioning that they may use him more as a corner. So that's just adding to a pretty full room already of corners with guys like Lattimore, with Bradley Roby, PJ Williams, guys like that. If you want to use him as a safety, you compare him with, we already lost two safeties in the offseason, Malcolm Jenkins to retirement. Marcus Williams signed a big contract with the Baltimore Ravens. So honestly, you can use him at either position. I did hear, like I mentioned, they're going to use him more at corner. But if you want to switch him to that safety position, I think it would work as well. But like I mentioned, they're heavily targeting a certain free agent right now. A certain free agent, a lot of Saints fans want to bring him back home. So hopefully that could be something in the works as well.
Most definitely. And the Patriots get Tyquan Thornton, a wide receiver out of Baylor. Eagles draft Cameron Jurgens, center out of Nebraska. This next guy, I've been waiting to hear this guy's name get called. I was hoping he'd have been a first-round pick. And we'll talk about the Georgia Bulldogs in a bit. But Steelers, they hit the jackpot getting Kenny Pickett. And I thought they also hit the jackpot picking George Pickens, wide receiver out of Georgia. So I think they found their replacement for Choo-Choo.
I think so, too. They already have a pretty decent wide receiving room, even without Juju Smith-Schuster, who missed most of last season with an injury. So, they got guys like Chase Claypool. They got James Washington. So, I think they'll be okay. And even adding Pickens, I think it's going to be an excellent decision for them in the long run for the Steelers.
And speaking of the Georgia Bulldogs, they already made history all weekend. I think they said they were the only school to draft 5 players in the first round from defense. They had 5 defensive players that went in the first round. Not a single offensive player until the second round. But I think they said the most in school history they've ever drafted in the whole weekend, I think they had a total of like 16 or 17 Georgia Bulldogs got drafted all weekend. I was like, well, that's cute. LSU had 22 players from their national championship team that got drafted. And for all you Georgia Bulldog fans, don't get too hyped up because you're going to end up in the same boat like we did. They are already predicting Georgia to be back in the college football playoff. I don't see it happening. You lost all those starters from that national championship team. You're going to be a one-hit wonder just like us. And Clemson, I don't know what the fuck College Game Day smoking. I don't see Clemson going to the playoffs either. Now, Alabama and Ohio State, unfortunately, that's 2 out of the 4 right there. The other 2 will just have to be a mystery because no fucking way in hell I see Texas going to the playoffs. Even some think A&M will be an SEC surprise. I believe A&M before Texas, but I still don't think A&M can do it.
Hey, give me a second, okay?
Alrighty. While we wait on Dylan here, we'll say this is presented by the World Elite Podcast, which our proud sponsor is 80stees.com. Use our promo code World Elite to get 30% off of your order at checkout. We also have sponsorships with Rogue Energy. Our promo code again is World Elite. Use promo code World Elite to get 10% off of your order for that as well. As we I'll take a swig of this till Dylan gets back.
All right, sorry about that. My wife decided to FaceTime me mid-show.
Well, it's going on YouTube, so it don't make a shit.
Yeah, it's okay. I know for sure we have that one faithful viewer. I know Jordan's watching us right now. Told us he's watching us. So,
and for those who are going to watch any other time on demand, just feel free to fast forward those 30 to 60 seconds there.
Yeah, my wife has a tendency of FaceTiming me when she gets off of work, even when I'm mid-show. So it happens.
So yeah, I believe A&M could be a playoff contender before Texas, but I still don't see A&M making the playoffs. They're not going to put 2 West teams from the SEC in the playoffs. I could believe SEC East and West, but not 2 West teams. I'll leave those 2 as surprises.
Right.
Whether they get someone like Oklahoma, maybe if they get their shit right, and now they're getting their hopes on Lincoln Riley changing USC, turning them back into the team they were in the 2000s.
Right. Yeah.
But I think we're about 100. I think they said now, as of today, it's like we're 127 or 128 days until college football's back. So,
right.
And then you add another week to that. That's when the NFL, the regular season kicks off, which, by the way, it's May 12th. They're going to announce the 2022 NFL schedule. I'm so pumped. I'm not entering in that contest because there's no chance in hell I'm going to win that. I just want to see who the Saints are playing in London because now I feel like they're going to just do the Bengals so they don't lose half their fan base with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase coming back home.
Something tells me it won't be the Bengals. I've been hearing different teams in Cincinnati. It's kind of on the bottom of that list, so maybe we'll get that fake Bengal fans coming into the Superdome when they're really going for Joe and Jamar. So I don't know, but it kind of makes me hope they're not because I really want to see Joe come back. Even though I wouldn't be going for him, I want to see him come back to where he won a national championship.
I'm going to say they're going to play the Raiders in Vegas. That's what I predicted. And if the Bengals will be in the Dome, I'm getting tickets for it, but I'm wearing a Saints hat with my Joe Burrow LSU jersey. That way I support him and I still support the Saints.
Yeah.
Okay, moving down the second round. because the rest of the rounds, I only did certain picks. I'm not going down that whole list.
Please.
Colts got Alec Pierce, wide receiver from Cincinnati. Chiefs get Sky Moore, wide receiver from Western Michigan. Cardinals get Trey McBride, tight end from Colorado State. Cowboys. I felt bad for every player that got drafted to this team. Cowboys get Sam Williams, linebacker out of Ole Miss. It seems like a more decent pick than your first pick. You get a tackle out of Tulsa, who I don't believe protecting Dak. Tampa Bay gets Luke Goddard, offensive tackle from Central Michigan. Falcons get Troy Anderson, linebacker from Montana State. Then we get another LSU call up. The Minnesota Vikings select Ed Ingram, an offensive guard. First, give me your take on Ed Ingram getting called up to Minnesota.
I think it's a great pick. I really think they made a good one with that one.
There's only like 3 more left from the second round, or 4 more. Bengals get Cam Taylor-Britt, safety from Nebraska. Niners get Drake Jackson, linebacker from USC. Chiefs and the Bills each get a Cook. Chiefs get Brian Cook, safety from Cincinnati. Bills get James Cook, running back out of Georgia. That was another name I was waiting to get called. So if Ryan from Front Facelock's listening, y'all got another good pick. And then the Broncos get Nick Bonito, linebacker from Oklahoma. Before we move on to the rest of the draft, I've always wanted to ask this. When it comes to the NFL draft, let's put Saturday away. I don't think nobody gives a shit about Saturday, the final day of the draft. We're just glad they quickly run through it. But you never know what the fuck happens. I don't know if you were watching it. This was between the 5th and 6th round. They had a fucking wedding ceremony during the middle of the draft, and one pick got hold off for 10, 20 minutes because they did a fucking only in Vegas do a wedding at the NFL draft. Did you watch that, or you just saw it on Twitter?
I actually watched it. I thought it was hysterical, but fucking Vegas, man, anything goes over there.
Oh, yeah. Now, I'm pretty sure I know what the answer is going to be, but let's talk about the first and second round here. When it's draft day or draft weekend, whatever you want to call it, what would you rather more? Would you rather the first round or the second round when it comes to like entertainment-wise, excitement, and the vibe?
I think anyone would go with the first round. Because the first round is like Christmas Day, in my opinion, for football fans. That's like football fans' version of waking up on Christmas Day and they have that gift right in front of them. And this is their first taste of football coming back. I know the USFL is going on right now, but still, I think the NFL reigns supreme over every single football league, Canadian Football League, the attempt of the XFL, the AAF, the USFL. And the NFL holds that supreme reign over any football league. So the first round, it's like you're waking up and you have this energy, like you wait for it all day and it does not disappoint whatsoever. And in the first round this season had trades after trades. You know, Marquise Brown's going to the Cardinals. AJ Brown's going to the Eagles. I mean, so many trades, and it was so cool to see. You know, it was a hell of a first round. So I think the first round, I think for anybody, should get that top on their list.
Well, now that you mentioned that was kind of a new record. They've had 9 trades. This is 9 trades during the draft in the first round. That's not including the trades they made before the draft even started. Yeah, 9 total trades during the first round. I think that's the most they've ever done.
Right.
And yeah, those 2 big trades right there. Marquise Brown going to the Cardinals from Baltimore. And then what was Tennessee thinking? Getting rid of A.J. Brown for a receiver. And they ended up drafting that boy from he's from Arkansas. His name is Treylon Burks.
Yeah, Treylon Burke. Yeah. But A.J. Brown was due up a big contract. I guess Tennessee didn't want to give it. I know he had a little bit of an injury history, but still, he's your top-tier wide receiver in Tennessee. I thought it was a questionable move. They sent him packing to Philly, and Philly gave him a big extension that night. So I guess it works out for both sides. Tennessee was looking to move him. Philly got him, and they gave him that big contract he wanted.
Yeah. Now, about the other question there, I said Yeah, maybe a lot of people really love the first round because that's when you hear those bigger names get called up, and then every one or two picks you might get someone you've never heard of,
Hmm.
but which I love the very excitement like drafts just starting. There's way more fans the first night. You get about nearly the same amount the second night, and then the third night you just get meh. You just get a few thousand instead of like 100,000. But
All right.
I think what I love more about the second round. Okay, the first round you got the clown himself, Roger Goodell, announcing all 32 picks. Where in the second round you get a surprise, whether if it's a current player on that team's roster, a Hall of Famer, or a freaking celebrity. Like our show is a wrestling podcast. There were 4 WWE superstars that announced draft picks
Yep.
on night 2, and for the Minnesota Vikings, it was the newly signed Olympian Gabriel Stevenson. He
Yeah.
announced the Vikings pick. Before that, Titus O'Neil, who's now an ambassador for WWE, he signed Tampa Bay's. He didn't sign. He announced Tampa Bay's next draft pick, and then you got Baron Corbin, who announced the Chiefs pick, and then the best for last, you had The Miz announce the Cleveland Browns pick. And I screen saved his announcement when he said the 2023 Super Bowl champion Cleveland Browns. I have that saved. So as soon as they get eliminated from the playoffs, I'm going to share that to haunt The Miz.
Yeah. This wasn't in the second round. For one, I love the second round. The changes they made, celebrity involvement, former players, and some people from Vegas. You got Donny Osmond and people like that. But it was a first round pick for the New York Giants. I believe it was a Make-A-Wish kid, and he announced Kayvon Thibodeau. My God, the hype level this dude had. I said he needs to announce the rest of the picks. It was so fantastic. I really enjoyed his pick. And even seeing Thibodeau come out from the draft room and seeing how hyped they were together. Because I went to this dude's Twitter and that's his profile picture now. Just a moment he shared with Kayvon Thibodeau. I thought it was excellent. I talk shit on Goodell a lot. And to this day I still will. I fucking hate him. But this was a cool thing for the NFL to do for Make-A-Wish and for him to announce that pick. And I believe even they did one for the Patriots. So I thought it was pretty cool. And I think for me, that kind of went over any celebrity involvements or former players and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I like how they do it the second round. They just get Make-A-Wish kids. They get current players, former players, Hall of Famers,
Right.
or celebrities that are diehards for these teams. Yeah, the Saturday, I don't know if that's what they've done before. They used to not have anybody unless it was certain picks, but then they were getting season ticket holders announcing picks, or they get like city people that were from other countries that are hosting international games to show like that. A guy from Germany, like they're going to finally play an NFL game in Germany this season. The Buccaneers are playing, or it's one of the teams playing over there. He announced that pick. The Texans are playing a game in Mexico City. They did a pick. They did like 2 picks in London for 2 teams. I think Jacksonville was one of them because they fucking love Jacksonville in London because Nick Khan owns a soccer team in London. So yeah. So third round, I put down all. They did way more picks. Like they had like 7 bonus picks at the end. I think it had something to do with COVID because instead of doing 32 picks, they had like an extra like 6 or 7. That was so weird. I don't know why they did that, but I'm gonna just kind of look at these names. If I see a name in the third round, I know, or that was like a big pick. Like I'm gonna scroll all the way down to the second quarterback to get picked up, Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati. He goes to the Atlanta Falcons.
Yep.
You see him or Marcus Mariota being the starter for the Falcons?
For now, I'm going to say Mariota. He has that experience as a quarterback. He was already a starter, even went to the playoffs with the Titans. So I think I'm going to give him that advantage right now. But there's kind of a quote I want to take from that. I even seen it on Facebook, seen it on Twitter. And he said he's not leaving Atlanta until he brings a Super Bowl to the city. That poor fucking dude's going to be there his entire career. Exactly. They're not winning one. I'm sorry, man. You're going to be there your entire career.
He ain't going to be there his entire career because after his rookie contract, if they don't like him, they're going to get rid of him and he'll go be a free agent or play for another team. So he's going to end up leaving Atlanta somehow unless they give him what you call that contract where Like you could be there till you retire, whatever they call that shit.
Yeah.
I forgot the name of it. But then, like I said, the Texans had a huge draft weekend. They drafted a shitload of SEC players, and this was another one. They get Christian Harris, a linebacker from Alabama. Big one there. I have to say this one because there was a player that got drafted. He's named after a WCW wrestler. The Cleveland Browns in the 78th pick picked Alex Wright, a defensive end from UAB.
Nice.
The next LSU Tiger to go on the board was Cordell Floyd, defensive back. He went to the New York Giants. So I forgot he declared the draft. Like, he was probably one Tiger I didn't remember declaring the draft. But everyone else that got drafted will go down the board. Yeah, I knew they declared, but I forgot about Cordell. I figured he was staying another year, but I think he left early.
Mm-hmm.
Any take on Cordell going to the football Giants?
Just like before, I think it's a great pick. I think he was underrated at LSU, and much like you, I really don't remember him announcing that he was leaving. So it was news to me, but good for him getting drafted. You know, I think he's gonna make some plays over there.
And then the quarterback we thought would have went first round. We were wondering, when is he gonna get called up? Malik Willis goes 86 to the Tennessee Titans. Him and Ryan Tannehill. And then Tennessee had an amazing draft. And if I know Battle was so fucking pumped that they got Malik Willis, and he said he was getting his jersey when it goes on sale. So the Liberty quarterback going to Tennessee. What was your take on Malik Willis going to the Titans?
Well, first of all, I was stunned that he lasted this long. You had teams like Seattle and Carolina who are constantly trading up, and they're not taking a quarterback at all. Seattle, who's in dire need of one after trading their franchise quarterback to the Denver Broncos and receiving a very mediocre quarterback in exchange like Drew Lock. So right now, as it stands, Drew Lock is their quarterback going into this season unless they make some sort of move to bring Baker Mayfield over, who is still in need of a home, even though he's still under contract with Cleveland. So it makes me wonder, how did Malik Willis last so long, and even to land in Tennessee when teams like Carolina, who ended up with Matt Corral, and a team like Seattle, who still didn't go with a quarterback, just how? That's the only question I have, is how did he last this long? For me, I think he's a very talented quarterback. If the Saints would have ended up drafting him, even though we didn't need a quarterback, I found, in my opinion, I think it would have been a good move. Just a young quarterback coming in there, learning from Jameis and Andy Dalton, I think would have been great. You know, we didn't end it up with him, so it was okay with me, but I think he should have went so much higher than what he went. I thought he was first round material and somehow landed in the third round. So Tennessee got a steal, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But how long do you see him being the starter? Because some people think, Ryan Tannehill might be there another season or two, and then Malik Willis will take the reins.
Tannehill, he's kind of an okay quarterback. I feel like he had AJ Brown to really bail him out of most things, and then he had Derrick Henry to carry the load pretty much every time they were in a football game. So whenever Derrick Henry had to sit games out, you really had to see the test that Ryan Tannehill had to face, and you could see he's not that good of a quarterback. So I really think Malik Willis is going to test him to really see, you know, can Ryan Tannehill step up, you know, be that quarterback for the upcoming years for Tennessee. And if not, I think Mike Vrabel is going to make that switch from Malik Willis to go in there under center for the next couple of years. So this year in particular is going to be that true test for Ryan Tannehill to see, can I be that future quarterback of the Tennessee Titans, or is my backup in Malik Willis going to take that from me?
Now, before the draft, I said Baker Mayfield will either end up with the Falcons or could end up with the Texans. Well, now that Desmond Ridder got drafted and they got a backup from Mariota, I will throw Seattle in the mix now, because I could see Baker go to Houston or he'll go to the Seahawks, because you can take Carolina off the board, because I'm going to shift real quick. They draft Matt Corral from Ole Miss for the 94th pick. And I was like, oh, damn. So now we get to see Jameis Winston versus Matt Corral for 2 seasons because I don't see Sam Darnold starting for the Panthers. I think this is their guy. They're going to end up starting.
Yeah, I think Matt Corral is going to be one of those kind of mid-round picks that could possibly be a starter going into week 1. I really don't think he'd be ready for it, but I mean, when you look at that quarterback room like they have in Carolina, it is very mediocre in my opinion. You have former XFL legend PJ Walker. You have Sam Darnold, who I believe was a huge reach for Carolina to get. They thought this guy was going to be something good. I even thought he was going to be something good. Carolina, I fucking hate him. For everybody in that division, the Buccaneers, the Falcons, Panthers, I hate them all. But Sam Darnold, I thought he was landing into a good offense with Carolina, but he proved us all wrong, and he did not live up to their expectations. So I honestly think Matt Corral, even though he was more of that mid-round pick, can go and be a starter week 1.
This will be the final guy I'm going to bring up in the 3rd round, but this was one of two or maybe 3 LSU call-ups. I was like so fucking shocked. For the 93rd pick, the San Francisco 49ers picked my boy Tyron Davis-Price.
That was a good one.
And now the 49ers got 2 Louisiana boys in the backfield, him and Elijah Mitchell. You got a Tiger and a Raging Cajun. Holy shit. I hate California teams, but I'm going to keep my eye on the 49ers to be a contender for the NFC because everybody is riding on Tampa Bay, doing it, clinching the NFC with Brady coming back. No. Brady is going to leave again when he gets swept again by the Saints and either don't make the playoffs at all or they're going to get knocked out 1st round or 2nd round. He's going to leave again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The NFC, the AFC, this is all going to be a fun NFL season coming up for sure.
I got the AFC locked up. I still think the Cincinnati Bengals will clutch the AFC again. It'll come down to them and potentially Kansas City or Buffalo.
This is tough to even predict, because Buffalo, they're one drive away from going to the next round of the playoffs. And they're even changing the overtime rules because of it. Cincinnati, yes, and they got protection for Joe Burrow. They made free agent signings who could really change the game for that Cincinnati offensive line. But look at the AFC West as a whole. The Kansas City Chiefs, even losing Tyreek Hill, I feel like is a very dangerous football team. The Raiders, gaining Devontae Adams, another weapon for Derek Carr. The Los Angeles Chargers are still that up-and-coming team I could see being very dangerous with Justin Herbert as QB1. But then you look at the Denver Broncos, who have not really been up to par the last few seasons, but man, gaining Russell Wilson, I think that's the position they have been needing all along. So Russell Wilson throwing to guys like Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, that's going to be such a deadly division in the AFC. So hopefully Joe Burrow can make it back, win the AFC again. But I think going through guys in the AFC West, that's going to be tough. Even because they can win the AFC North for sure. Pittsburgh with that rookie quarterback, Cleveland with Deshaun Watson, who we're still unsure of if anything's going to happen to him suspension-wise. And then the Baltimore Ravens, who also lost their weapon with Hollywood Brown. So I think the AFC North is kind of wide open for Cincinnati to come take it. But then that AFC West, that's the division that really scares me right now because, Lord, they are locked and loaded this season. It's going to be so interesting.
All right, moving on to the 4th round. I'm just going to throw a few names here. Let's start with this one. I forgot about this player. The NFL version of Kobe Bryant drafted to the Seattle Seahawks. I forgot about him. Like when I heard Kobe Bryant, I'm like, hey, he's back from the dead. I'm like, oh wait, that's right, old boy from Cincinnati. It's just spelled with a C and ends with a Y. And I remember, I think it was for the Cotton Bowl against Alabama. He changed his number to 8 in memory of Kobe Bryant when he was number 7 for the Bearcats. So now he's going to play for a Seahawks team that we're very unknown for. So these next two I want to say. there were not back-to-back draft-wise, but it was back-to-back for the same school. We got to give a shout-out to our backyard team, the Raging Cajuns, having 2 picks in the 4th round. Max Mitchell, who's an offensive lineman, is going to the New York Jets, and probably one of the best defensive backs I've ever seen from UL, Percy Butler, going to play for the Washington Commanders.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
It was an honor to see him play against Appalachian State that one Tuesday night in October. That was probably the most packed I've ever seen Cajun field. That's not against the Louisiana team like McNeese.
All right.
And it was a primetime game. So, I mean, they always pack Cajun field for primetime, even when they would lose. So it was cool seeing that. I'm going to go down the list. Okay, this running back, I've been waiting to hear where this running back was going to go, and you were talking about how the Chargers were going to be dangerous, and now this guy going to be in the backfield with Justin Herbert. We got Isaiah Spiller from Texas A&M going to the Chargers.
Oh, I know. Pairing him with guys like Austin Eckler, man, that's going to be good.
All right, these next 2 guys I'm going to mention to close out not close out, but nearly close out the first 4th round. These were 2 LSU picks. I'm going to jump ahead. Nick Farrell Jr., defensive tackle, is going to the Raiders, which that's cool. He's also, I don't know if what's his face is still at the Raiders. I forgot his damn name. He played tight end. He got drafted by fucking God damn it, the one who coached the Raiders, the one that got fired.
Oh, John Gruden?
Gruden, yeah, the one that Gruden called up. I can't fucking pronounce his name again. But yeah, he's going to play with them. And then this was my second surprise, Cade York. He might have been the only kicker I think that got drafted. Unless there were a few that got drafted in the 7th round or maybe a couple punters, but this was the first kicker that got drafted so far in this draft, and he went to the Cleveland Browns. So, you got the Browns and you got the Bengals fighting to be who's LSU North, and now, even though Jarvis Landry is no longer with Cleveland, nor is Odell Beckham Jr., I'm sure Greedy Williams is still over there, and I know there's like two linemen that are still with Cleveland as well. So Cade York's going to be with some LSU Tigers up there. But yeah, Cade York, the man who kicked the longest field goal for LSU, I think it was it 56 or 66 yards in that foggy game against Florida with the whole shoe nonsense.
I think it was 57 they were mentioning.
They said the longest that he kicked in Tiger Stadium was 53, and we were at that game. It was against Central Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
That was a game where I ran into you and Jordan and your brother and Keith. Right. That was when they were on fucking fire. And Deion Smith had a fucking awesome game, and Cade York kicked that fucking long 56-yard field goal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then this is my last one for the 4th round. I've been preaching for fucking months for the Bengals to draft a fucking lineman. In the 1st round, they draft a safety from Michigan. The 2nd round, they drafted, I think, a linebacker or something. Well, they finally drafted an offensive tackle, Cordell Volson from North Dakota State. Yeah, I know you're not big with North Dakota State, but hey, at least they're getting some recognition. Put them guys in a Power 5. Put them in the Pac-12 if you got to, or kick one of them douchebags like Rutgers or something out of the Big Ten. Let them join the Big Ten. But what do you see in Cordell Volson? Can you think he can protect Joe Burrow on that line and prevent him from getting hurt again?
Oh, most definitely. But like I mentioned already, I'm not sure if you knew this once you posted on Twitter, but they made some moves in the offseason, signing different offensive linemen. So their O-line is going to look a lot different going into this season.
Oh, yeah. Now, 5th round, I've only put down 6 players where I was like, holy shit. So for the 5th round, the Washington Commanders even drafted a quarterback. The guy my dad's been waiting to hear his name get called. They get Sam Howell from North Carolina. You potentially could see him being that starter, or who else does the Commanders have? I know they don't have what's his face because he left. But,
well, they traded for Carson Wentz.
Oh yeah, he's not with the Colts anymore. I forgot about that.
No, they got Matt Ryan.
Yeah, Matt Ryan's with them. Yeah, that's where he went. He went to Washington.
Yep.
I don't see him being a starter. I could probably see Carson Wentz taking over for the Commanders. I could see Sam Howell be like a QB2 or possibly a QB3. I'm thinking that boy from Old Dominion, Taylor, was the one, or he's still with the team.
Taylor Heineke.
Yeah, the one from Old Dominion. Yeah, Taylor Heineke.
Yeah, he was the starter most of last season, but with Carson Wentz coming in, he's going to be the clear starter. And I think Heineke could be the number 2 and then followed by Howell.
So Heineke's still with the team. I thought he was the QB that left.
Unless I didn't see what I'm going to go look at it right now. But no, he's still with the Commanders.
Why do that? Okay, before y'all say anything, yeah, I did this for fun because I was just scrolling. I used the hat. You know how many people use hashtags? Like there were over maybe billions of people that were using hashtag NFL draft. Once accidentally clicked on that, and then I just seen random people announcing the picks on their own, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm gonna do this. I said the next pick the Saints have, I'm gonna record it and make it look like I'm announcing it to the world, even though only a few people saw it, like probably the league saw it. But I announced to myself the 161st pick of the draft. They get a linebacker. They get DeMarco Jackson from Appalachian State. They needed a linebacker too. They needed someone to be in the backfield with guys like Demario Davis and Andrew Dalwell and Zach Bond and company. What you take with DeMarco Jackson? I'm sorry, getting called up to the Who Dat Nation.
That's an excellent pick. Very underrated pick by the Saints. You know, you've seen a lot of positive feedback from all those draft scouts for ESPN, NFL Network, and whatnot. So I think that's an excellent but yet underrated pick for the Saints. Kind of that diamond in the rough that they're going to find going into this season. Last season or the year before, C.J. Gardner-Johnson was drafted on day 3. And he was easily that diamond in the rough for the Saints, you know, because it doesn't matter if you get drafted day 3. Hell, Tom Brady was drafted in day 3. And I mean, look what happened with him, 7-time Super Bowl champ. So it doesn't matter where you get drafted at, even if you're undrafted, you know, you can find those good undrafted rookies. But this pick alone, I feel like is very good. And I feel like for the Saints, it's going to work out so good in the long run.
And then, okay, this next guy, he's a running back. He was the third. Like when it came to running backs, all they kept talking about was Breece Hall and talking about Isaiah Spiller, and then this guy, Ty Chandler. But it sucked he had to go this late. He went 5th round to the Minnesota Vikings out of North Carolina. Him and Sam Howell were like the 2 big names from the Tar Heels that were waiting to get called up, and they both got called up in the 5th round. Sucked he got called this late, but I mean, hell, look at some of the people like Tom Brady got called up in the 6th round, and look what he fucking became. I mean, I could see a chance, but him being, I don't know, I don't see him maybe being a starter for the Vikings if they still got Rudolph and all them. I mean, I could see him maybe taking a few snaps, maybe not as a starter. And then, before I move on with 3 more guys left, you have anything on Ty Chandler?
No, I think he could be one of those late round picks that could really shine in the NFL.
Did I say the wrong name for the Vikings? I said Rudolph. Is he a wide receiver? Or is he a running back?
You said Rudolph?
I thought it was Kyle Rudolph.
Kyle Rudolph's a tight end, and he's has been on the team for a couple seasons.
Well, who am I thinking of for the Vikings? And no, it's not Adrian Peterson. I knew he ain't been with them in forever.
They're running backs Dalvin Cook.
God damn. I know.
Hey, his brother got drafted.
Yeah,
too.
I saw that. He must have got drafted in the 7th round because I didn't remember it.
No, you already mentioned his name. I forgot to mention it. It's that James Cook that went into the Bills.
Yeah.
Yeah, him, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. He did go there. See, I thought – I didn't know that was his brother. I knew there was like fucking 4 Cooks that got drafted, but I didn't know that was him. So they both must have played for Georgia unless the other one went to another school.
Mm-hmm.
No one's going to worry about that. I just put this down. I don't know, like James Mitchell to the Lions, who's a tight end out of Virginia Tech. I saw his name mentioned a lot. So I put that down. Okay, I skipped one, but poor Damone Clark from LSU going to the Dallas Cowboys. Now I have to
Yeah.
hate him just like I did with Morris Claiborne.
Yeah. But for
Sorry,
him,
Damone.
he had first round, even early second round potential, but he had that spinal fusion surgery, and it's probably gonna knock him out the entire season. So we probably won't even see him till next season. So that's what dropped his draft stock so much, was that spinal fusion surgery. So once healthy, I think even though we hate him, the Dallas Cowboys got a good one.
This last one I put for the 5th round, I just randomly put this because it was an SEC player, but the Packers drafted Kingsley Enagbare from South Carolina. I just put
Right.
that because I was like, oh, damn, they finally put a South Carolina dude on the board. Which, by the way, it sucks to be a Vanderbilt fan. Every SEC team had someone drafted except Vanderbilt.
Yeah. Yep.
And I don't think Vanderbilt had anyone drafted last year or 2020. They definitely not 2019, and Nashville hosted the fucking draft.
I know.
That's sad. That's sad. They need to. If we can kick anybody out of the SEC, we need to fucking kick Vandy out.
For sure. Yeah.
I don't even know how they still have a football program. They need to just be like UAB in 2012 or 13 and just drop your program.
Yeah.
And then they changed that logo. It's so fucking ugly. It's looked like they took Vegas Golden Knights V from the Knight helmet.
I know.
So the 6th round, I only put down 4 names. One was the Saints' final pick of the draft. They pick up defensive tackle Jordan Jackson from Air Force. So we got 2 Jacksons on the team we drafted, from DeMarco to Jordan. So we got quite a bit of defensive linemen. I mean, I know it's going to be, maybe he could be that missing piece for that defensive line. I mean, yeah, we already got Marcus Davenport and Cameron Jordan on the line. We got David Onyemata as well. You think he could be that other cat to play defensive tackle, or do you see him maybe like a Braxton Hoyt or Albert Huggins or Jaleel Johnson being that starter, or even Malcolm Roach or Kentavious Street or Shy Tuttle?
Yeah, Shy Tuttle was another name I was gonna mention. For this guy, I don't see him being a starter. Yes, I do see him being someone who can contribute, a lot to this defensive line. But maybe he'll work his way into that starting lineup sooner or later. I know guys like a Shy Tuttle or guys like that who weren't really those high draft picks or anything like that. They worked their way into that start lineup. So maybe one day we'll see him in there. I think maybe he'll impress enough training camp preseason to potentially get a starting spot. So was obviously drafting him, the Saints, Dennis Allen, Mickey Loomis, they saw something in him. So I don't know. But regardless, I respect it. I respect the draft decision on him. I'm ready to roll with him.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Jackson, if he don't start, I can see him maybe rotating because, occasionally they'll rotate, especially during like 4th down conversions or even in goal line situations. They like to rotate the players around. So see him getting on the line a bit. Then, I mean, if you want to claim him a Mamu boy, I know he transferred and went to high school in Texas, but Austin Deculus was the next LSU Tiger to go, and the second to go to the Houston Texans. So I know I tagged you and your brother. I was like, that big Mamu boy got called up, even though he didn't graduate from Mamu. He went to high school somewhere in Texas, but he still declared Mamu his home. So I know we've talked about that going to Ring of Honor. You're like, oh, I don't really care for him, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, you got to at least be happy for him. He got called up in the 6th round, pick number 205.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I never said I didn't really care for him. LSU boy, of course, if the Saints would ever make that call to get him on a team, I'd be happy. But just getting drafted in general, I'm very happy for him.
Might have been your brother that said that.
That could have been.
Then we get another pick in the 6th round by LSU. The Chasen Hines goes to the New England Patriots at 210, offensive guard, which when I had when I had Dylan Brach on the show, he mentioned that they were looking for some linemen to protect Mac Jones, and this is their guy. And I even sent him I tagged him in the post. I tagged him and Dan Ballion, and I'm like, y'all welcome. Because he said that's what they really needed more, but it sucked they waited that late. But, they had to get someone. They had to get a few defensive players, too, he mentioned. So, I mean, I feel like they kind of got everything they needed for that team to see what they can do and try and make that championship run without Tom Brady for once to prove that, hey, we don't need Brady to make it to the Super Bowl. Hell, they've made it to the Super Bowl without Brady before even Brady was a thing.
Right.
But they never were successful.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was only one time or two times they've been to the Super Bowl before the Tom Brady era, but they lost all those times. Mm-hmm. One of them was against the Pack. No, two times. One was against the Bears when the Bears won in 85, 86. When they had the fridge, and then was Super Bowl 31 when Brett Favre won the Super Bowl. He played against Drew Bledsoe and the Patriots.
Yeah.
So now the 7th round, I only had one person, but see, I left because we were going to my sister's, spend the rest of the day together. I only put one person down because I was waiting for this guy's name to get called up, but Isaiah Thomas from Oklahoma, defensive end, goes to the Cleveland Browns. I was waiting for him to get called up. Do you have anything on Isaiah Thomas?
Not much, no, not really.
And then the final one I was waiting to hear, Mr. Irrelevant. It was Iowa State's quarterback. I'm just popping up. Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant 2022. So that was another guy I was actually waiting to hear. So,
yeah. Oh, for sure. For some reason, I feel like he's going to be a steal for some reason.
He will. Now, that will do it. That's all I got to talk about of the 2022 NFL draft. But you enjoyed the whole weekend. I'm sure you did. Who doesn't love the NFL draft?
For sure. Oh, yeah.
That's probably like the only draft I'll watch the whole weekend. NBA draft, I just usually watch the first round. MLB, I don't watch it. I think the only time I've ever watched it was when Alex Bregman got drafted in 2015. He went 2nd overall, and then NHL draft, I think I tuned in once. They're different. Instead of getting hats like the NBA and shit does, they get jerseys and they put the jerseys on. The NFL gets jerseys too, but they don't put them on. They just, if you get drafted in the first round, you get a jersey and you take a fucking picture with Goodell with your hat on.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any last things before we close out? I know we're ready for the real football season, and we're not talking about the USFL going on right now, and then the Canadian Football League starting up in the summertime. I'm ready. I like to have that little break every once in a while, like get a little break, get out of the football drama, politics for a little while. But once it's like June or July, then you're fucking ready for it. You're ready to have it again. And then you get preseason for a bit. And then after that first week of preseason, you're like, okay, let the fucking real shit start.
Right. Oh, yeah. Just with the USFL, I really hope it takes off. The attendance is rough. I know it's only been a thing for 3 weeks, but the attendance is not there. You kind of feel like you're playing in the pandemic era right now with no fans being allowed in the stadium. That's how it feels like for me, because there's almost nobody there.
No.
For the Breakers game last night, they were playing the hometown Stallions, so of course they had a little bit of a crowd. But
that's the only time they're going to get a crowd is when the Stallions are playing because they're the home team. And something tells me it's probably going to be rigged and Birmingham's going to win the whole thing.
Yeah, the Breakers lost last night, and it didn't affect me like a Saints loss or like when the Pelicans got eliminated. It didn't really hurt me too bad when the Breakers lost, because I'm not 100% invested in the USFL right now. Give it a couple seasons, and I'll probably get to that state to where it would bother me like a Saints loss.
Yeah, it's just the inaugural season. Like I wanted them to win because we finally have a good. I'm not saying finally, we have another good New Orleans team because you remember the fucking Pelicans have been doing that did so fucking good in the first round of the playoffs, even though they fell Game 6. The only time I did not have my head hang low. I was so proud of this team and the fact we're getting Zion back, and then they get a high pick in the draft lottery from the Lakers, and
Right.
everyone on that
Yeah.
starting lineup is fucking in their early 20s. I cannot fucking wait. I've never been more hyped to see the NBA, the Pelicans season more than coming next season. I'm hoping to 10 games for that. But on the football side, it's like, yeah, the Breakers lost. I figured they were going to lose, but I wasn't upset about it. Like I said, this is just the inaugural year. I was going to buy merchandise. I'm like, you know what? Let's just wait and see if they have another season after this.
Yeah, you may want to give it a little bit of time because, as we all know, I mean, other than the CFL that's in their own country, I mean, we all seen these other football leagues attempting to start up. The XFL was probably the most promising of all. They had the attendance. It's just this thing called COVID-19 really fucked it all up. So it sucks.
I know you don't want to accept this right here, but if we're talking about the XFL, if COVID wouldn't have happened, the Houston Roughnecks would have won the championship.
And I 100% agree with you. I'm a DC Defenders guy, and if they start back up with the same teams, I'll probably go for them again. But I mean, we started off good, but I mean, we were on that downward spiral. So I feel like the season got canceled at a good time because we were starting to suck.
Well, I'm heard they're bringing the same 8 teams back, like Houston, Dallas, Seattle, DC, New York, Tampa Bay, and I think it was Atlanta, or was that the Alliance of American Football that Atlanta had a team?
I don't remember. I think it was the XFL, but I mean, honestly, I don't really know at this point. The AAF was such a huge failure. Thank God that shit folded because our team sucked as well.
And St. Louis had a team too.
St. Louis had the Battle Hawks.
And I was glad to see they had football back in the dome over there.
Yeah.
But I heard they were going to bring them 8 teams back. They were thinking about additionally adding 4 more, make it a 12-team league, which that would be pretty better. The Rock's changing it all and doing the comparisons, working. I think they're doing some work with the NFL too. He changed the logo, which fuck Megan Rapinoe. She boycotted the logo and said they was going to take The Rock to court. That's the last thing she wants to fuck do. You don't want to take the People's Champion to court. He will put you down harder than a fucking jobber at a WWE event with that. But I think I have more faith in the NFL having more years than the USFL. But
yeah,
at least we're getting a little bit of football. I enjoy watching it. But if New Orleans loses, I ain't gonna bitch. But it looks like it'd be fun to go to. Plus, there's no other league where you can just buy tickets 2 minutes before kickoff. It's only going to cost you $25, and you could sit anywhere you want.
Pretty much, yeah.
Now, if this would have been a Saints game, I'd have been fucking pissed off.
Oh,
losing like that.
Yeah.
You had a lead. I mean, it was a tight game to begin with. Birmingham was fucking good team.
But sure.
Blowing bad calls and then blowing a fucking lead and throwing an interception in the last 2 minutes of the game, I'd have been pissed the fuck off if that was the Saints.
Yeah.
I'd have thrown that jersey off of me. I'd have been talking shit. And then the next day, it's like, okay, we got to get back to work again. I love you guys. I am a fucking bipolar fan. But I think everyone in the NFL is bipolar with their teams.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, that will do it. You can find me on Twitter right there. I didn't do a funny name this time, but at Marquise79_. Dylan is on Twitter at Real Dylan A Bear. You have any last words before we close out?
Yeah, actually I do. Tomorrow on the Wordly Podcast's Facebook, our YouTube page, and our Twitter profile is the big debut, as I mentioned, on night 2 of our prediction show for WrestleMania. It is World Elite Showdown. We will have a guest every single Monday leading up to SummerSlam. First episode has already been spoiled. Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker, the end of The Undertaker's undefeated streak at WrestleMania 30, joined by none other than Nick from the Universal Wrestling Podcast. And then once the show concludes, I will announce the entire schedule along with every guest that we're going to be bringing on. So if you're going to be watching it, you're going to hear your name if you're already slated to join us. I'm actually trying to schedule a few more guests to potentially be that second guest to come on. I'm more than down to bring on 2 guests. So I'm already in talks with 2 people right now to come on. So like I said, be listening tomorrow. If you're already scheduled to come on, then you're going to hear your name for the match that you're scheduled to come on with us. But we're looking forward to it. Jordan and I are very excited about this new series that we're starting up every Monday, like I mentioned, leading up to SummerSlam. So it's going to be a fun time, and I hope everyone joins us for it.
Hell yeah, I'm even going to be a part of it twice later in the season. But, well, this will do it. You can catch, I will do some more YouTube specials wrestling-wise for World Elite. But for Football Fandom, well, it's actually not going to be until late August, early September. We're going to be back for season 2 of Football Fandom. So just give it a few months, but I will pop up occasionally on YouTube to talk wrestling-wise with World Elite. So, but until then, for the Football Fandom side, we will see you guys in about 4 to 5 months. Peace out. We're counting down the days.